You might think this is just another video that randomly showed up in your feed, but hear this clearly. Its appearance in your awareness is anything but random. Something greater aligned to ensure this message reached you right now. There is an energy, a person circling your reality who made a critical misjudgment. They saw your radiance, your soul's frequency, your quiet power, and they mistook it for something they could claim, something they could manipulate. They believed they could decipher your essence with charm, control, and illusion. They thought desire was the doorway to your spirit, that with the right words, the right mask, the right performance, they could enter your sacred space and bend it to their will. They believed the laws of the shallow world applied to someone like you. But what they failed to realize is that you are not of this world. You are a chosen one, and your soul answers to a higher order, one they can't access, let alone comprehend. They came with strategy. You came with truth. They came with ego. You came with purpose. And now their carefully constructed illusion has crumbled in the presence of your light. The tides of your authenticity have washed over the false ground they stood on, leaving them exposed, disoriented, humbled, and unable to understand how their old tactics no longer hold power. This message is your divine confirmation. It reached you now because their confusion has stirred the energy field, and your awareness is needed to stabilize and rise. You are not here to fix, explain, or descend into chaos. You are here to ascend. Anchor this truth, integrate this knowing, and let the universe witness your clarity as the signal that you are ready, fully ready for the next evolution of your path. The shift is here. Claim it. I need you to do a few things with intention. Please like this video, subscribe to this channel for the messages that are meant for you, and comment 77 below to affirm that you are open to this transformation. And because this message needed to find you at this exact moment to help pull you out of any lingering confusion or negative thoughts so you can soar, I ask that you let this video replay in the background. By doing so, you are confirming that you are ready to accept the help of the divine, reinforcing the powerful frequency of this truth in your space. Chapter 1. The Architecture of a Failed Seduction. This individual constructed an entire reality around the power of their own appeal. You must understand, for them attraction is not just a pleasant bonus, it is their primary currency, their weapon, and their shield. It is the very air they breathe. They have navigated their entire life by leveraging how they are perceived, whether through physical appearance, a carefully cultivated charm, a display of material success, or a social grace that seems effortless. They have learned to make themselves desirable, and for the most part, it has worked flawlessly. They have seen doors open, rules bend, and people fall into line based on this power alone. They built an identity, a fortress, out of the admiration of others, with walls made of compliments and a moat filled with the envy of their peers. When you came into their field of vision, they saw you as the ultimate validation of this identity. To them, you were not just another person, you were a high-value target, a testament to their prowess. In their mind, capturing your attention and affection would be the crowning achievement, the final proof that their methods were infallible and their power absolute. They looked at you and saw a rare jewel they had to add to their collection, to prove their worth, not just to the world but to the hollow space inside themselves. They approached you with a playbook that they believed was foolproof, because it had been tested and proven time and time again. This playbook contained chapters on love bombing, mirroring, future faking, and subtle manipulation. The compliments were tailored, designed to pinpoint what they perceived as your insecurities and soothe them with a practiced, convincing tenderness. The stories they told were crafted to paint a picture of a life that was exciting, stable, and just out of reach, making them seem like the key to a better world you secretly coveted. They studied you, not to understand you, but to find the right buttons to push, cataloging your likes and dislikes to create a false persona that was your perfect match. They believe that everyone, at their core, has a price, and that price is usually validation. They thought if they showered you with enough attention, reflected a perfect image back at you, and made you feel uniquely seen, you would inevitably succumb. It was a calculated, strategic assault disguised as a whirlwind romance or a deep, instantaneous friendship. Their confidence was absolute, bordering on arrogance. There was no room for failure in their worldview, because to fail would be to admit that their entire currency was worthless. They saw you, a chosen one, and in their spiritual blindness, they only saw a beautiful, intricate lock. They were so proud of the key they had forged, so certain it would fit, that they never once considered the possibility that you were not a lock to be opened at all. You were, in fact, the entire house, and you were not inviting them in. Their whole approach was an elaborate piece of architecture, a beautiful facade with nothing behind it, designed for a world you no longer inhabit. Chapter 2. The Unbreakable Core of the Chosen. The reason their entire strategy disintegrated upon contact with you is simple, yet it is something they are utterly incapable of understanding. It is because you, as a chosen one, operate from a completely different power source. Their world is fueled by the external, yours is fueled by the internal. While they scramble for scraps of validation from others, you are plugged directly into a divine, infinite source. Your sense of self-worth is not determined by who desires you, but by the undeniable truth of who you are, a truth that was encoded into your soul long before you entered this physical reality. This is not arrogance, it is a fundamental state of being, a sacred knowing that resides deep in your bones. You have an unbreakable core, a spiritual center of gravity that cannot be pulled off balance by superficial forces. When this person directed their carefully crafted energy of seduction toward you, it hit your auric field and simply dissolved like a drop of ink in the ocean. It found no purchase, no hook, no crack to seep into, because your energy field is whole and sovereign. To you, their attempts felt off. It wasn't something you had to logically dissect or analyze. You felt it in your body as a subtle recoiling, a tightening in your gut, a quiet alarm bell in your spirit. Their compliments, while sounding pleasant to the ear, carried a dissonant frequency that made the hairs on your arms stand up. It was like listening to a beautiful song played slightly out of tune. You could feel the agenda humming beneath the surface of their words, a frantic, needy energy masked by a calm exterior. You sensed the transactional nature of their attention. This wasn't a genuine desire to connect with your soul. It was a desire to possess your energy, to siphon your light. For a chosen one, authenticity is the only language that truly registers. Anything else is just noise. You have spent lifetimes, or at the very least this entire lifetime, doing the painful work of learning to shed the layers of social conditioning that tell you to value the very things this person was offering. You have faced your own shadows, healed your own wounds, and learned to be your own source of light. So when someone comes along offering a flickering candle of external approval, it doesn't impress you. It doesn't even register as valuable, because you are already basking in the light of your own internal sun. They thought they were offering you a feast, but you were already full. This innate spiritual intelligence is your greatest defense. It is the silent, automatic filter that protects you from those who seek to use you. They mistook your kindness for weakness and your quiet nature for naivety. They couldn't see that your gentle exterior protects a core of immutable divine steel. Chapter 3. The First Cracks in Their Reality. The moment of their humbling was not loud or dramatic. It was quiet, subtle, and for them, utterly world-shattering. It was the moment they deployed their most trusted tool, their ace in the hole, and were met with a calm, unwavering stillness from you. Perhaps they delivered a line that had made others swoon, a perfectly rehearsed anecdote designed to showcase their wit and charm. Or they made a grand gesture intended to sweep you off your feet, something that screamed effort and expense. Or they leaned in with that look, the one of intense, focused desire that had always worked before. They played their winning card, held their breath, and waited for the inevitable desired reaction. The flutter of eyelashes, the blush, the gasp of delight, and it never came. You did not blush. You did not become flustered. You did not lean in eagerly for more. Instead, you simply held your ground, your energy unshaken, a tranquil pool of water they could not disturb. You might have offered a polite but neutral smile, or simply looked at them with a clear, perceptive gaze that seemed to see right through the performance to the nervous puppeteer pulling the strings. In that instant of your non-reaction, their entire universe fractured. For them, it was a moment of profound cognitive dissonance, a spiritual short circuit. It was as if they had spoken a sentence in a language they were fluent in, and you, who they assumed also spoke it, looked back with no recognition whatsoever. The feedback loop they rely on for their very sense of self was severed. They send out a signal of attraction, and the world is supposed to send back a signal of submission or desire. You sent back nothing, or worse, you sent back a signal of placid, benevolent indifference that they couldn't categorize. You could see the flicker of panic behind their eyes, a micro-expression of sheer disbelief before the mask of charm was hastily put back in place. The gears in their mind were grinding, smoking, trying to compute an outcome that their programming had never prepared them for. Did they not hear me? Did they not understand? Is something wrong with them? The idea that something might be wrong with their approach was, at that moment, still unthinkable. This was the first crack in the foundation of their reality. Your quiet, centered presence was the seismic event that caused it. You didn't have to say a word. Your refusal to participate in their game was a louder rejection than any shouted insult. You held up a mirror, and for the first time, they didn't see a charismatic conqueror. They saw someone trying and failing to impress an unmovable object. The humiliation had begun, a slow burn starting deep within their ego. Chapter 4. The desperation of a dwindling influence. Faced with this unprecedented failure, a rational person might retreat, reassess, and change their strategy. But this individual is not entirely rational. They are addicted to their own influence, and their withdrawal was just beginning. Their first instinct was not to question their methods, but to question the dosage. Their panicked mind concluded, if the usual amount of charm didn't work, I must need to apply more. And so began the phase of desperation, a clumsy, frantic escalation that only served to expose them further. The smooth, effortless charm was replaced by a forced, almost aggressive pleasantness. The compliments became more frequent, more grandiose, and more transparently hollow, like an actor forgetting their lines and beginning to overact wildly. They started to feel less like genuine admiration and more like a sales pitch for a product you had already declined. Their attempts to engage you became relentless, popping up in your messages and your physical space with a neediness that reeked of insecurity. The energy shifted from seductive to almost sticky, and you could feel their desperation trying to latch onto you. When this amplified charm failed to produce results, they shifted tactics to other pages in their worn-out playbook. They might have tried to invoke jealousy, casually mentioning other admirers or posting curated photos of them looking desirable and in demand, hoping to trigger a sense of competition in you. But a chosen one does not compete for what is not divinely theirs. You simply observe the performance with a sense of detachment, recognizing it as a cry for help. They might have even attempted a subtle put-down, an egg designed to destabilize your confidence and make you seek their approval. They'd offer a backhanded compliment like, "It's so brave of you to wear something so unique," or question a choice you made, hoping to create a small wound that only their validation could heal. But their clumsy attempts at psychological warfare were laughable to a soul as grounded as yours. It was like a child throwing pebbles at a mountain. Every desperate move they made was a gift. It was a glaring confirmation of your initial intuition. The mask was not just slipping, they were tearing it off themselves in their frantic attempts to get a reaction from you. The cool, confident persona they had worked so hard to project was crumbling, revealing the anxious, validation-hungry entity beneath. Their dwindling influence sent them into a spiral, and their attempts to regain control became a spectacle of their own undoing. You simply had to stand still and watch as they tied themselves in knots, their every action screaming the truth that they were powerless over you. Chapter 5. The audience begins to notice. This dynamic did not occur in a vacuum. There are always observers, whether they are mutual friends, colleagues, onlookers in a social setting, or even just people witnessing the energetic exchange from a distance. The universe ensures there are witnesses to these karmic reckonings, and they began to notice. At first, they likely saw what this person wanted them to see, a charming individual pursuing a desirable, if somewhat reserved target. They bought into the performance, but as the desperation phase kicked in, the narrative began to shift. The audience started to see the cracks in the performance, the strain behind the smile. They witnessed the relentless pursuit and your calm, unwavering indifference. They saw this person's forced smiles and heard the hollowness in their compliments. They noticed the stark contrast between their frantic, seeking energy and your serene, self-contained composure. People are more perceptive than manipulators give them credit for. They can sense imbalance, neediness, and inauthenticity. And the imbalance here became glaringly obvious, an uncomfortable truth hanging in the air. Whispers began. Questions started to form in the minds of those around you, first silently, then in hushed conversations. Why are they trying so hard? What is their obsession with this person? It's getting a little strange. The admiration they once held for this individual began to curdle into something else. Curiosity, then suspicion, and finally, a sort of second-hand embarrassment for them. Your silence became a powerful testament to your strength. You did not need to gossip or expose them or defend yourself. Your dignified refusal to engage in their drama spoke volumes, far more than any accusation could have. People started to see you not as aloof or cold, but as discerning, powerful, and possessing a rare form of self-respect. They saw someone who knew their own value so completely that they could not be bought by cheap charm. In contrast, the other person began to look weak, foolish, and predatory. The social currency they had worked so hard to accumulate began to devalue rapidly. People who were once their allies or admirers started to subtly distance themselves, not wanting to be associated with the cringe-worthy display. You, the chosen one, were single-handedly writing this person's public reputation without ever intending to. You were the catalyst for a collective awakening around you. The audience was no longer just watching a show, they were learning a lesson about true power versus performative power, and you were the teacher. Chapter 6. A Confrontation with the Void. The ultimate humbling came when this person, having failed to hook you, and now sensing the shift in their social standing, was finally forced into a moment of solitude with their own thoughts. With all external avenues of validation exhausted, there was nowhere left to look but inward. And what they found there terrified them. It was not a core of self-love or inner strength, but a vast, cold, echoing void. It was an emptiness they had spent their entire life furnishing with the admiration of others, papering over the walls with compliments, and filling the space with the noise of social engagement. Their entire identity, they realized, was a collage of other people's reactions. It was built on a reflection they saw in the eyes of those who desired them. But you, the chosen one, refused to be their mirror. You offered no reflection, only transparency. And in that absence, they were forced to see that without the external validation, they felt like nothing. The charisma, the charm, the attraction, it was all a costume. It was not who they were. It was a sophisticated mechanism they used to extract energy and approval from the world to avoid this very moment. This confrontation with their own emptiness is their great karmic lesson, a crucible they cannot escape. They are now facing the painful truth that they don't know who they are without an audience. Their confidence was not self-generated, it was borrowed, taken on loan from the people they successfully manipulated. You were supposed to be their biggest loan, the one that would set them up for life, the ultimate proof of their creditworthiness. When you calmly declined their application, their entire economy collapsed, triggering a spiritual bankruptcy. They are now grappling with a profound existential crisis. The question, "Who am I if I am not desirable?" is haunting them, echoing in the emptiness they can no longer ignore. They are realizing that their pursuit of you was not about you at all. It was about them. They needed your energy, your light, your validation to fill the gaping hole within them. They saw your inner richness and, like a spiritual vampire, sought to feed on it, believing it was their right. Your refusal to be their source has forced them into a state of spiritual starvation. This is the true nature of their humiliation. It's not just that they failed to get what they wanted. It's that the failure exposed a fundamental bankruptcy in their soul, a truth they can no longer run from. You did not defeat them. You simply revealed them to themselves. Chapter 7. Your Silent Ascension. And while this person is wrestling with the ghosts in their own empty house, you are moving on. You are ascending. It is critical for you to understand that this entire episode, while instigated by them, was never truly about them. It was a divine test for you, a final exam on the subjects of self-worth, intuition, and energetic sovereignty. And you passed with flying colors, not by fighting, but by simply being. Your victory was silent, effortless, and absolute. The act of them trying and failing to hook you was a powerful catalyst for your own evolution. It was the universe providing you with undeniable proof of your own growth, a celestial nod of approval for all the inner work you have done. Years ago, you might have fallen for it. You might have been swayed by the attention, questioning your own judgment, thinking maybe you were the one who was wrong. But not anymore. Your ability to remain unmoved, to hold your center in the face of such a calculated onslaught, was the graduation ceremony. You have leveled up. You've risen to a frequency that this person simply cannot perceive, let alone penetrate. The energetic chords they cast in your direction, they disintegrated before they could ever touch you, falling weightless at your feet, unable to attach to the brilliance of your auric field. Their chaos, their confusion, their slow unraveling, it's nothing more than distant static from a realm you no longer inhabit. It's like hearing echoes from a party you chose not to attend, irrelevant, detached, and long behind you. You don't look back with bitterness, not even with pity. You look back with calm neutrality. The clarity that comes when a karmic cycle is complete and a chapter has been divinely closed. You are now stepping forward into higher timelines, purified energies, and soul-aligned connections rooted in truth, reciprocity, and deep spiritual resonance. Without effort, you're attracting people and opportunities that match your evolution. Your field is clear, your signal is strong, and those who are whole within themselves can't help but recognize and be drawn to your light. You didn't need to fight, prove, or expose them. You didn't need to demand justice. Your being, your presence in full authenticity was the justice. Your unwavering light revealed everything that could not stand in it. Their fall was not your doing. It was their own reflection collapsing under the weight of truth. Their role in your story has ended. But your story, it's just beginning to unfold, brilliantly, expansively, and far beyond anything they could ever imagine.